There he is.
What's up,
Lucas,
guys? Can you hear me?
there he is.
How we doing? Thank you for having me on.
Dog.
So were both of you guys in Chicago recently?
It was just me. It was just me.
Oh, why weren't you both there?
Because I didn't invite Muller.
Yeah, I didn't get an invite. Never heard about
More
it. No, I had
gassy.
to coach.
Damn. I see how it is, Mikey.
Hey,
Yeah,
stop it. Stop
yeah.
it.
He's not for the
Enough.
pod.
Enough. I actually told the boys, we're started by the way, so let's ramble. But I told the boys, I'm like, guys, we have to come here either in the summer for a Bears game or something because I want to go back. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, so I mean it gets obviously really cold in Chicago, like right on the lake, but if you go there in September or October, especially for a Bears game, it's beautiful and you can also catch a Cubs game at Wrigley, which I did the one year and that was a sweet experience to do both. And I wasn't even planning to go to the Cubs game, just like happened. We got tickets right before the game. They were like $10 playing the
Dude,
Cardinals.
it was just like it was just fun because the I expected like way different from what I've heard from Chicago, of course. Like we were like right in the north side, like right near Diner 24. We went there every night. Like Orleans Street. So we were just walking around the whole time and the weather was nice. It wasn't like too cold. Like at night it would get cold, but it was quiet. Like we flew in
Yeah.
on Wednesday and it was just very quiet like until Friday night. But it wasn't as busy as I thought. It wasn't as like we didn't really go to Southside. We went to the Wills Tower, which was used to be called the Sears Tower. That's like the furthest, I guess, east or south that we went. But oh man, what a place, dude! Like it was just a bunch of fun. The Bears game was sick. I'm glad I went. And
Sloppy, but they won.
it was sloppy, but they did win. I had the Panthers plus 3.5. They did cover plus 4 on the Mortals. It was definitely sloppy. They had a little stand, a steak and cheese sandwich, no cheesesteak. They didn't want to take it over, but it was it was interesting. The bar scene's interesting, and I want to go back because we did not go to Wrigleyville. I know that you said we should go because there's cool bars there, but we didn't go. We decided to go to the Wills Tower and then go from there. I had a blast. I really did.
Well, I'm giving you an open invite now because I told you every year I somehow the guy that doesn't live in Chicago hosts the Bears tailgate every year when there's other people that live there, but
Yeah,
I'm the only person that'll do it. So
I'm in. I'm
the
in.
first year I did it, I met up with a lot of people for the first time that I met on Twitter. We had like 30 dudes in our group chat on Twitter there. It was a blast. Um, yeah, the Chicago tailgates are fun. What did you think of Soldier Field? I'm genuinely curious. It gets a horrible rep from people who live there, but from an outsider, I think it's an awesome stadium.
Dude, I thought it was sick because
Yeah,
like you walk so we Ubered there, but we walked there and it's like it's right near Lake Michigan too. So
right. It's right on the water. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
you got that little chilly breeze, but like I thought the stadium was awesome because if you're sitting on the far side near the lake, you can see it like the buildings like
Hmm.
over the 300 section. And then when you're walking out, I mean, everyone's banging on the drums and stuff. They got the carriage rides and everything. And then you're back in the city. It's a little bit of a walk, but oh my God, what I thought that stadium was sick compared to MetLife. Oh my God,
Yeah,
dude.
I try and tell people, no offense to you, Mikey, but I will say MetLife is the worst stadium I've ever been
Oh,
to.
we know, dude. It's terrible.
It is horrible.
Yes, it's
Horrible.
atrocious. It's an
And,
awful.
and it's like a new stadium, like you would not expect it. It's garbage. And it has no personality. Like
Like
obviously
you
you got to
said,
host Giants and Jets, so they flip all the stuff, but it's like generic NFL stuff. It's like, all right, cool. It just I don't know.
that stadium is the epitome of New York sports teams besides the Bills, but the Bills are slowly creeping in too.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, there's nothing there but tailgating. That's it. And you
Yeah.
got what is it called? The American Dream Mall or whatever.
Yeah. Big snow.
The Big Snow. That's it. Like it's just you go there, you watch the game, you go home. You don't expect anything. You expect $17 beers and a bunch of drunk idiots all over the place.
And losses.
And losses. That's
Oh,
it.
well, there's a lot of those at Soldier Field too. So
But not on Thursday. Not on Thursday.
not on Thursday. And I can tell you as a diehard Bears fan, I did not care. I mean, okay, I did care where the season went, But if there was one game, the Bears could lose every game. If there was one game I wanted to win, it was the Panthers. I didn't care if we got our ass beat by the Packers again. Like, it sucks. I'm used to it. The Panthers fans were talking so much shit all off season. Oh, I have receipts for days of Panthers fans saying, "Oh, there's no way Bears fans actually think we'll give them a top 10 pick." Buddy, you're going to give us the number 1 pick. Your team is horrible, and Bryce Young stinks.
Yeah,
That is a bad situation.
That's the thing too. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like quick to jump the gun on Bryce Young. Like, it's just
They took everything away from him. They
that
didn't give
team
him
is so
anything.
bad. Like, it's by far the worst team in the league. So I feel like you gotta give him a pass, but he still needs work too, man. I mean, especially Frank Reich. You think he comes in there and like changes the offense? Nothing has changed.
I don't understand why people. It's been a few years of this where Frank Wright, everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to come in. He's going to help the quarterback. He's going to get." The last 3 quarterbacks he tried to help are, I'm pretty sure, they're out of the league. There's no one left in the league besides Bryce Young. Because
well, he had Wentz twice.
Wentz is back.
all right, yeah, Wentz is back.
Well, he was out of the league, so yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think he had Foles. He had Foles in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah. He tried to revive Matt Ryan tried to revive him.
All right. Well, that's a little bit. He was at the end of his career, so I'll give him a little bit of a break there. But sure, yeah, that's 3 quarterbacks out of the league.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bryce Young, he took everything away from Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's good. He has no one to when your best wide receiver is what, 34? How old is Adam Thielen?
He's around like 32, 33.
Yeah, like what are you supposed to do? You got nothing.
And that's the thing about the trade that was made, looking back on it, is just like you actually gave up DJ. Like, there probably could have been a world where they didn't give up DJ Moore, but like they legit just gave up the best player on their team, or at least on their offense, like in the trade. So that's what makes it that much worse. It's weird. It's a bad situation. Yeah. But what do you guys think of the situation that the ownership pushed to draft Bryce Young? Because I heard that both Frank Reich and the GM wanted CJ Stroud.
I mean, it's
apparently the owner had a closed door meeting with Nick Saban, and that's like what sealed it. And then he was taking Bryce Young no matter what anyone told him.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, they addressed the O-line like prior to drafting Bryce, where they took Okonkwo, and they must have had faith, because that's probably why. Because I know CJ was on the horizon, but an Alabama quarterback, you've seen the history of them between Tua, Jalen Hurts. Like, I feel like that was just one of those where you just can't think twice about it, and you just got to draft him. Especially because Frank Reich was there too. He had some type of input as well. I just feel like they just couldn't think twice. They were like, you know what? Let's just take Bryce and let's just call it a day. It might not be this year, but we got the draft capital. Not sure if they do now, but for the future, I think that was the key. CJ, maybe it was Ohio State curse. I don't know, but they definitely messed up. So
yeah, it's a crazy situation, but I didn't mean to come out hijacking the show. So like I said, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Lucas, the reason you're on here is because we want to give the floor to you, because you texted me saying, I want to come on and I want to talk about Justin Fields. So
I thought it would be a good time. You were just in Chicago, so I wanted to hear what you thought of the recommendations. You had the Italian beef, right? You had the experience. Fire,
absolutely,
right?
Fire, loved it.
And deep dish is overrated, right?
Absolutely overrated. It is nowhere close to New York, and people who think otherwise, absolutely insane.
All right. Very nice. I totally on board with you. And if I said that to some of my Chicago buddies, they'd kill me. But that's the way it is. I don't know. East Coast pizza is better.
So much better. I might even take Pennsylvania pizza over that. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
You gotta love the crust. Like, there's 3 things. You're either a crust guy, a sauce guy, or a cheese guy. Crust it's low for me. That's number 3 by far. Cheese and sauce is kind of the same. Like, that's what's important to me. Like, obviously you want a nice crispy undercarriage, but a
thin crust.
Yes, like a 3-inch crust that tastes like it came out of a frozen pizza box. Like, no, that's not my style. It's just not me.
I do like thick crust at the top, but I don't like the whole pie as being thick crust.
Yeah,
The
I
only
agree with
the only thing that I really liked about it, because we went to Lou Malnati's, we got the classic, and then we got the I think it was like
People
the
rave about their sausage or pepperoni or both,
yes, no,
whatever.
like the sauce and I think it was sausage on the pizza was really good. The sauce was
Yeah.
tangy, it was tasty, it wasn't too salty, it was perfect. But just everything else, I
The
just
crust is
couldn't
too
cover it.
much.
Yeah, it was just way too much. But we got a
And they're
Chicago
expensive.
dog. We got yes, very expensive. We got a Chicago dog too. I'm not a big pickle guy on a dog, so I kind of just threw that out. But the Italian beef, phenomenal recommendation. I would 100% get it again, no doubt.
So that's the thing, man. That's a staple of our tailgate. When we do the Bears tailgate, me and my buddy, because there's shops there, you can go there and you can buy the meat. You can buy all the ingredients separate. I mean, it's expensive, but you buy it in bulk. You throw it in a crock pot, and you're rolling on a nice chilly day to eat some Italian beefs and pound some beers in the morning.
Dude, like easy peasy, bro. The crock pot is
Right.
the best invention in the
So
fucking world.
so I'm telling you, again, open invite next year. You're coming to the Bears game with us. People in the Midwest are just super nice, but like, I don't know, man. The one year we did it, like I said, there was like 20 to 30 of us there, and I organized every single person just bring something different. So we had like endless amounts of beer, liquor. One of the dudes stopped at a Polish sausage shop and just showed up with those. Like, incredible spread. Um, just random people coming up to us, grabbing beers, eating. Like, it was perfect. It was so great. You guys got to come out next year.
Oh, dude.
And hopefully the Bears are doing better and they might have a new quarterback, which we'll get into.
Yeah, especially with the Midwest people too. Like I feel like I would try my best to act from the Midwest where I could just go to other people's tailgates and take their beer. Like I won't have to pay for anything. So that's gonna be my goal.
People are real nice out there, dude. They probably wouldn't blink an eye. Like, they don't.
They are very
It's a different atmosphere for sure.
yeah. Oh, by the way, when I was last thing here, then we'll get into fields. And when I was walking around the city, downtown, even the north side, just I got a smell of chocolate, an aroma of chocolate was just filling my body. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Looked it up.
Ghirardelli, right?
Huh?
It's Ghirardelli, right?
Yes, yes, it was.
Yeah.
But it was just random. Like, yo, like it just really smells like chocolate. It was great. It's clean city too.
Clean city, dude. That's what I love about it. It's so clean.
Like you would never think that. Again, we were more so on the north side. We didn't really travel down to the south side, but yeah, I would definitely go back, especially for a Cubs game. I think that's next to my agenda, but no doubt.
Yeah. So I think when the Cubs won the World Series, I think they set like or were they basically set a North American record for most people ever at like a sports parade. It was like 3 to 5 million or something like that. I think if the Bears won, it would probably be double that. Like, take
Oh,
whatever
I'm
you
not-
think
I'm-
about
I
Chicago.
know.
Like, that is a Bears city through and through. The fans are loyal as anything. I mean, I'm sure you know as a Jets fan, but like, I I don't know what happened. If they won, dude, it would be the most insane scene anyone's ever seen,
Yeah,
like in sports parade history.
yeah, I think the same about the Jets too. But I don't know. Chicago is it's all Bears fans. Like that's all it is.
It's Yep, and there's a ton in Minnesota and Wisconsin too. Believe it or not.
Yeah, we've got a lot
So
of people from Minneapolis and whatnot that were moving there. But now let me ask you. So you have the Bears, or I'm sorry, you have the Panthers' first overall pick. Like you have their first rounder of 2024. You have 2 of them, correct?
well, we got their first last year, which was just a trade back. We got the first this year in 2024. You're asking what picks we have from the Panthers?
Yeah. So that trade, because I know it involved DJ Moore, a
So
first.
they basically used DJ Moore instead of getting a third first round pick. So instead of like getting a 2025 first, they took DJ Moore and a 2025 second round pick.
Okay, gotcha. Now, watching that game, by the way, that was a complete fleece. And now Ryan Poles, credit to him. He's got to hit on those. If he doesn't hit on those, he should be fired because everyone knows who he should take. Watching that game though, I like Tyson as a backup. I don't think he should be a starter yet.
No.
I mean, he's shown flashes. He's just not ready. Like it's obvious. But what now? I'll just leave the floor to you. Like, what's your stance on Tyson? What's your stance on Fields? And I guess where do you guys go from here?
Yeah, so I think the Tyson Bagent thing. I mean, everyone kind of knew it was coming when Fields got hurt. He kind of came out and took the team by storm. He came out versus the Vikings. He looked good, and then he won the next week versus the Raiders. But it's almost like it feels like his game should have been reversed, right? Like if you put the Panthers game first, that would have seemed like his first start because he struggled a little bit. But then, like the first two starts he had, he looked really solid versus the Raiders. The Chargers, he was a little worse. Then the week after that, he was a little worse again. And then the Panthers game, obviously. So, um, yeah, I think you're kind of spot on there. I think long-term backup is probably his career trajectory, but for an undrafted free agent from a Division II school, I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal feat, regardless to see the field and get 2 wins. I mean, yeah, maybe he does develop into a starter down the road. I think, honestly, I think his ceiling is like Gardner Minshew, to be honest with you. Like that, they remind me a lot of each other. And you see what Gardner Minshew's doing with a solid team in Indianapolis. He's winning games. He'll win you games. He's a feisty QB. He'll go out there and fight for his team. Uh, Definitely a guy I want to see the Bears keep around because it's something I think every team should do. It's a smart team building strategy to just take dart throws in 6th, 7th round undrafted free agents. Like just bring guys in to compete for your backup spot. There's no use recycling the Brian Hoyers of the world. Like that's why the Bears beat the Raiders is because Brian Hoyer is freaking horrible. Like we see too much of it too. It's like all the time. It's just recycled QBs and kickers. And I don't know. I think it's a wise team building strategy to kind of bring these guys in and create competition.
Yeah,
The fact that we're even having this conversation is nuts to me. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. I think kickers is one thing. Like recycling kickers can actually be more of like it's got a bigger longevity than I think quarterbacks because no one wants to try out a 34-year-old Brian Hoyer as a backup quarterback or like
right.
something like that. Like you got to find like great analogy, just like a dart throw. Like just pick someone like Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders who just beat us. I mean, like that's obviously paying dividends for them. That's I feel like quarterback is more of a position where you have to focus on a backup. Like I said I wasn't going to talk about the Jets on the show. I'm just going to say it quickly. Like Joe Douglas, like when Rodgers went down, like he should have been on the phone right away, like trying to get a backup. And because why do we get Rodgers in the first place? Because Zach wasn't the guy, he wasn't ready. So now
Right.
he thrusted back into this starting role of a team that's ready to win. And here we are 4-5. So that it's a good point where if you don't have a backup and you have some guy like Tyson Bagent that we don't know anything about, like it wouldn't hurt to sign someone or find someone that can actually back them up. That's maybe a little like that's a veteran, but I think the Bears took kind of a gamble and it's actually paying off. So, and he was also warming up against a PSAC conference. Shout out to the PSAC.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to watch him more. I don't know when Fields comes back, but what do you think about Fields? Because I know deep down you're not a Fields guy, but where do you stand with Fields?
All right. So I think for myself, and I don't want to speak for all Bears fans, but I think a lot of the Bears fan base was more convinced about Justin Fields being the franchise savior and franchise QB more so than any other QB we've had since Cutler. Like when they drafted Mitch, the first thing Bears fans did, they booed him. He showed up at a Bulls game and Bears fans booed him, which is completely out of the ordinary for Chicago fans. Chicago fans kind of knew everyone wanted Deshaun Watson that year. And it turns out he wasn't even on the Bears draft board. Their second QB was Mahomes, which obviously in hindsight is the guy they should have taken. But everyone and their mom was like, Deshaun Watson has to be the pick here. They took Trubisky. They hated him from the start. They knew he wasn't the guy right away, right? Fields was a whole different animal. Like Bears fans were praying that he would fall. There was rumors that he would fall because Zach Wilson obviously had that huge rise because of the combine. So Bears fans, pro day, yeah, that's right. The reverse rollout throw down the field against air, which we've been fooled by before, but I'm sure. I don't know. Everyone was convinced Fields was the dude, though. But I guess kind of lost in all that. You get this huge athlete who runs a 4.4 and he's a likable guy. He's got a big arm. Kind of lost in all that is he did have the same flaws he had in college as he has now, and he kind of just never developed out of them. And now going back on it, being 3 years into this thing, I go back and I read some of the scouting reports, and a lot of it was like, the ceiling is insane, but this guy is slow coming off his reads. He often holds the ball too long in the pocket, et cetera, et cetera. So going back and reading this, I'm like, wow, they really had this spot on. And it's just like, he hasn't really developed past that. I mean, a lot of Bears fans will say, they sabotaged him the first year with Nagy and whatever. Last year was not good. I'll give him that. In year 3, though, with, I would say, an improved offensive line, they get him DJ Moore. They still have Darnell Mooney. They have Cole Kmet. A lot of people are like, you need to keep Fields next year and keep building the offense around him. I'm like, the offense really isn't that bad on paper. Like, there's more than enough talent on there for him to be successful. And it just hasn't fully clicked yet, which is unfortunate. But, looking at it, you can even look at Tyson Bagent's stats the past few weeks. He's taken like probably as many sacks as Fields has had in single games this year. Like, just there is something to be said about getting the ball out quicker and not taking those bad sacks, which I think people are having trouble separating. When people say, oh, he needs to pick up some things that Tyson Bagent's doing well, people just turn it into, you're saying Tyson Bagent's better than. It's not what we're saying.
Mhm.
It's like, you do need to get the ball out faster. You do need to do some of these things better. And I think that's kind of really what's holding Fields back, is like the quick game stuff, which you can take any QB in the NFL. I mean, you're not going to be successful unless you have some semblance of a pocket game. Like, it's why Lamar took the next jump. He was obviously a great mobile threat, but he learned how to throw from the pocket better. I wouldn't say he's still elite from the pocket, but teams at least have to respect it. And I've seen a huge shift in just how defenses play Justin Fields, and it kind of makes him one-dimensional now because, people will say the Bears aren't calling the games to his strengths, but I argue that by saying you can only run so much play action and rollout. Like, with the way teams play, Tyson Bagent is different than how they play Fields, because when Fields is out there, they'll literally just blitz the edge rusher instead of like playing contained. They're just blitzing the edge on him immediately and causing constant pressure and not letting him run outside. They're basically following into the pocket and sacrificing the middle of the field, which he's just not good at throwing at currently.
How much of that do you think is when he was at Ohio State, just like the competition between his team versus another team in the Big Ten, and anyone that they play, they're always going to be better. Like, wide receivers are always going to be faster, usually bigger, stronger. They get open more, they get open quicker. How much of it do you think is that? And now he's trying to play in the NFL, and guys are just better on defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a common theme for a lot of quarterbacks who struggle because, they're used to dominating the college game where they can get away with, holding the ball forever, which we're seeing with Caleb Williams this year. I mean, I hate to draw the comp between Caleb and Justin, because I do think Caleb does some things better than Justin does, currently. But, you can run around and make crazy throws because the defenses just aren't as good and the talent you're playing against just isn't as good. But I think really at the end of this, the main takeaway I get from a lot of this is scouting college QBs is very, very hard. Like, more so than any position, you just always have like a feeling like, oh, I think this guy will be really good, or I think this guy will be really bad. And oftentimes it's like, it's more so about how they develop at the next level. Like, can you build off what you did in college at the next level and keep getting better versus better competition? Which for Fields, it was like, these are his flaws. That's why he fell, to pick 11 or whatever he was. But can you fix these? And we're starting to see the answer to that is no so far. Is it too late? I don't know. Some would tell you no. I personally think it's too late. I think in year 3, you're not going to be developing better traits as you go. But
yeah, and what's bad for him right now is that the person that came in after him at Ohio State is now in the MVP talks.
Yeah, no, totally.
So it makes it even worse of a situation for him, because now no matter what he does, if he doesn't get to that MVP level, CJ Stroud's already there technically, and he's in his first year. He's only played what, 9 games, 8 games?
Yeah. And that's kind of the argument. Like, a lot of people will tell you like he doesn't have enough around it. I'm just like, if we're seeing guys like CJ Stroud, like, no disrespect to the Texans, that offensive unit and their skill players are not good. Like, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, like Noah
Sleeping.
Brown.
Sleeping.
They're yeah, and their offensive line, like they have Tunsil, sure, but for the most part, it's not a good unit. I mean, the dude is just absolutely balling with minimal help, and that's like where I'm like, you can't keep saying he has no help when there's more than enough, and other guys are doing more with less.
I don't know, man. I'll argue. I think the Texans unit is solid. I think Tank Dell was a sleeper, and I think receivers, like a receiver type like that, is what's going to be shown a lot in the next coming years in the NFL. Small guys that are fast, that are not as physical, that could just run the routes and get open. Nico is kind of like an outlier because he's been there for a while and he's more of a big bodied receiver. But I think another thing is the chemistry that he has. Like I think that plays a big factor into Fields too. Does he have the chemistry with DJ Moore? Again, he's been out for a while. I think the only player that he really has chemistry with is Cole Kmet because they've played the longest. But a lot of it is on CJ Stroud too, just coming in and balling and just it's a pass heavy offense. I mean, they're not really using their running backs whatsoever.
No,
They Dalton Schultz. They're finding ways to get guys open. He's just making those reads. And the thing about Fields, what I was going to say is it's it's funny because I feel like Fields, when you talk about his flaws, like even in college too, like a lot of his holding on to the ball too long. Like it's a what I've seen the difference between Tyson and Fields, and again, I'm not saying Tyson's better, but Tyson makes more of a smarter decision than Justin Fields does, where he tries to make playmaking decisions, where he's running out of the pocket, like going back and forth, going backwards. Like Tyson's rolling out, throwing it away. Like I feel like we haven't really seen those type of decisions from Fields
right.
because of just his pure talent that he has, that they kind of allow it in a way.
No, yeah, you're right, and it's absolutely nuts because he can get away with it a lot of the time, but just like the negative plays are hurting the offense so much, and even now, now there's definitely the concern of can this guy protect himself and stay healthy because the play he got hurt on and he dislocated his finger, he held the ball for over 4 seconds, and
Yeah.
there was a guy running down the middle of the field wide open. He had multiple checkdowns, or he could have just thrown it away and completely avoided that situation. But instead, he's kind of just sitting out there like a deer in the headlights, and it's like
Come on
well,
now.
dude, you kind of deserve that one. Like that was
Yeah.
fully on you. Like it really was. It's just tough, man. And I think, you go back and watch the games he was successful. And even the Washington game, I was at that game and on the rewatch, I watched the all 22 and I'm just like, the ball's coming out late constantly. Like the whole game, the ball was coming out late. And even the last play, like I don't really like to like nitpick this kind of stuff because it didn't end that way. But the last play where he threw a little stop route to DJ Moore and DJ Moore took it 50 yards to the house, that was inches away from being picked because he threw the ball a second too late. Like
Mhm.
everything is just a hair off. And it's like even when he plays well, he's still not playing in rhythm. And for me, it's just not sustainable. At the end of the day, I think Fields is a good player. I think he's a starting quarterback in this league, and he'll go somewhere if it's not Chicago. He'll go somewhere next year and start. Maybe a coach can fix him or whatever. They can build an offense better for him. Whatever you'll say. My main question at the end of the day, now that we're kind of at this point with QBs, is are you going to pay him Daniel Jones money? Right?
Yep.
Is this quarterback basically worth 50 million a year? And for me, that answer is no. Like there's not many QBs that are. So if that's your answer, I'm not going to keep, throwing investments in this guy. I'm just going to take the next best thing if I can.
Now our Bears fans, I know you're probably all over like Bears Twitter and whatnot because you got these
Civil war. It's civil war.
Civil War.
Yep. You
Like,
have
these picks. Like, what do you think the percentages of Bears fans wanting to get a quarterback and then some not wanting? Is it
50-50.
50-50?
50-50.
Really?
There are the people, I would say, okay, I would say when they drafted Fields, I would say 95% of Bears fans were all in on him being like
Sure.
that dude.
Me too.
Like everyone was confident. I like I said, there's still time for him to figure it out. I just don't think three offensive coordinators in Chicago is going to do it for him. Like he's going to just have to get a fresh start somewhere and restart somewhere else. Anyway, right now I would say it's 50-50. And it's been for me, even after the first few weeks, has been I was kind of out after the first few weeks when we came into the season. He just looked completely out of sorts, right? And it like as the season went on, he had obviously the good game versus Denver and Washington, but it's not consistent enough. And that's been the story of his whole career. So right now, I would say 50-50 split. There are still the diehard Fields guys who are saying at number one, you need to trade back, get a haul, maybe to 2 or 3, and then take Marvin Harrison Jr. and take a left tackle. My argument to that is I would rather take one of these top 2 QBs and then grab like a Keon Coleman or a Malik Neighbors from LSU. Like this wide receiver class is insane. Like people think like Marvin. I'll say this: I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the only generational talent in this draft class, like full out generational. I don't like using that term, but that dude is. I cannot see him not being a star in the NFL. Right?
Did you see his game this past weekend?
Insane.
He's nuts. He's insane.
He's definitely one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen in college, and his quarterback is horrible.
Yeah.
He what's his name? Kyle McCord went to St. Joe's Prep with Marvin Harrison, but yeah, I like half the fan base wants them to take Marvin Harrison with that top pick and then take like a left tackle or an edge rusher with the other one. But my argument is I think drafting the rookie QB and the second or third best wide receiver would still be better than Fields and Marvin Harrison.
So you would rather go quarterback right off the bat and then go for a receiver that's not Marvin Harrison, or maybe like if you were in Ryan Pohl's situation right now, say you finish with that number one pick, like what are you doing? Like who are you going for?
So all right, so this is all gun to my head today, right? Fields has 7 games to. I'm giving Fields the last 7 games to come out and prove to me that he's better, but he's got to show the consistency. He's got to show that he's throwing on time and playing within the rhythm of the offense. I'm not confident that happens. So I'm just telling you how I feel right now. There's still 7 games. He's earned that. And honestly, I don't know if this is possible. I would keep Fields next year. There's no rush to trade him or to sign him to the extension. Draft a QB and keep him. And if Fields balls out, you have a good situation on your hands.
Yeah.
You trade one of them and you make a decision. And I think more teams should do that. I think it's kind of like the unspoken rule that like you can't do that. But I said the same thing that Miami. Obviously this is wrong, but when Tua was struggling in Miami, it was the same thing I said that year. I said draft a QB and see which one's better.
That's a Miller standpoint right there.
Yeah,
he's preaching that.
If we go back to when Carolina had all these picks before they got rid of everything,
yeah,
I was saying that Carolina should just go and get 5 or 6 quarterbacks, have the quarterbacks that they had currently, draft like 5 new ones, and you just keep them going. Just keep throwing a new one in until they score a touchdown, they get to play the next possession. The moment they don't score, out of the game, next one's in. And you just have to earn your place in the pecking order at the beginning of the week. And like you just keep going with that until one gets hot, you ride them, and then like you can't lose because no one can be mad because if you ain't producing, all right, well, he's scoring touchdowns, why can't you? And then next year you ship them all out and you have a quarterback.
You're changing game plans too for the defenses.
I do hear you. That's not exactly how I would run it. But I do think there is something that bringing in some competition and not just giving like a rookie the job or shipping this guy away just because he didn't perform. Like, I don't know. If anything, that should motivate Fields, and if he's pissed or whatever, you figure it out. But I don't know. I think it's a wise team building strategy. So honestly, that's what I would do. I would draft a QB and keep Fields, let Fields start the year or whatever, and just let the other guy sit and learn because I think that's the best way for young QBs. But gun to my head today, if I had the number one pick, I am calling the Giants.
Who and why?
I'm trying to trade out the number 2, and I'm taking Drake May. If I know the team is taking Caleb Williams at 1. Yeah, so you're really
not scared of the Trubisky situation.
No, I don't look at the helmet. I don't look at the number. Drake May is a different animal. That guy is a beast. I think Caleb Williams has a larger set of outcomes. I think he has the highest ceiling. Like, I think his ceiling is legit like Mahomes. Like, he could be the next Mahomes. I think his floor, though, is lower than Drake May, which scares me. And you're seeing it a lot in college. He's developing a lot of bad habits between a bad line. A lot of people don't like his attitude. It doesn't really bother me. I think Caleb Williams is kind of I think he's just comfortable being himself, and that's who he is. He's a little bit cocky, he's a little bit quirky, like whatever. I don't care. I've heard people say they don't want to draft him because he paints. Whatever, fucking paint your nails. I don't care. I could care less. I could care less if you ask for ownership. Like it's not going to happen. Do whatever you want, right? You can't receive if you don't ask. So good on you. If you want that, go after it. I think the range of outcomes with Caleb Williams is just too. There's too many outcomes, right? Like I feel like a lot like Mahomes. I think Mahomes has kind of changed the way NFL teams kind of scout QBs now, right? Because they're looking more at like the off script stuff, which Caleb is fantastic at. He makes some throws. You're like, how the hell did you just throw that, dude? But you do need the right coach to be able to rein that in. When do you do that versus when do you just stay in the pocket and throw a strike and not run around? He turns the ball over a ton. I think it's a 1A, 1B situation, and really situation's going to matter a lot for Caleb. And obviously, if you're picking at the top of the draft, none of the situations are going to be great. But I think the Bears would need to hire the perfect coach to draft Caleb and develop him into what he can be.
What are your thoughts on Eberflus?
He's got to get fired. He's horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a nice dude. It was a weird hire when it happened.
Yep.
The Bears started interviewing coaches before they even had a GM, so like that was fucked up. It's typical Bears. It's typical Bears with the ownership. My only source of hope now is that they hired Kevin Warren from the Big Ten to be their president. So I'm hoping he kind of steps in and says, no, you got to fire this guy and let's find a new coach, which I'm hoping is Jim Harbaugh. It's the guy I've wanted for years, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, like, I feel like Ryan Poles got a lot of crap for what he did in the draft, taking Darnell Wright and obviously giving Jalen Carter the birds. But I think what the position that he put you guys in right now is actually a very good position because he knew that this was a kind of rebuild it like for maybe a year and then next year actually be competitive. And it's coming to fruition because now you have a lot of picks. You have a top pick. So that could change the whole offense. And I'm assuming they're going to be going offense. So
they should.
Kudos to him.
I like Ryan Poles' team building strategy and philosophy. I don't agree with all the move, like his free agent moves has been a little suspect. Like personally, I mean, I don't really like linebacker. Like I don't think the linebacker is like I was fine with them trading Roquan Smith, but then I wasn't going to go out there and hand Tremaine Edmonds $20 million a year. Like
signing,
like you saw him in person. Jack Sanborn, the dude from Wisconsin, is an absolute beast. He looked great Thursday night, and he's looked good all the times the Bears have put him out there. I would have been totally fine with them allocating assets elsewhere instead of linebacker. But I think his team building philosophy is really sound. Like you said, he likes to acquire picks. He doesn't like to hand out like huge contracts that are crippling overall. So, but yeah, if you held a gun to my head, I'm taking Drake May today for the Bears and then coming back with probably Keon Coleman or Brock Bowers with the other pick. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would take Brock Bowers even with Kmet. That dude is amazing. Tight end.
I guess my last question here, it's not really, it's just a normal question because for fantasy players like all of us, I have Deontay Foreman, and the Bears running back room is quite an interesting aspect of the team because you got a guy in Khalil Herbert who they've had faith in for the last like year or two.
Yeah.
He's hurt. And then they just drafted Roshan Johnson from Texas. And then you got Deontay Foreman, who did the same thing last year with the Panthers. He got picked up and has been absolutely obliterating defenses with his run game. Scored a touchdown against the Panthers. What do you make of that room? What do you think for the future? What do you think is going to happen? Roshan's going to be the RB1?
Oh, you mean like after the season?
I would say going forward this year and then after the season. Like I feel like this year it's going to be a lot of Deontay Foreman, but after this year, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so I think for the rest of this year they have Herbert coming off IR, who they really like. I mean, it was weird because I was stoked when they signed Foreman, and then they literally just didn't. He didn't even dress for games to start the year until Herbert got hurt, and then obviously when he got his chance, I think he scored twice versus the Raiders. He had a good game versus like he's done well when he's gotten carries. Absolutely. So I think there's no way they could kind of go away from him at this point for the rest of this year. I do think it's going to be a weird situation with Herbert where they're just going to ride the hot hand because I would say neither of them are great in the pass game. So Herbert's decent at catching the ball, but neither of them are great pass blockers, and that's
He's
kind of
not a
where
blocker.
Roshan specializes. So my advice to fantasy players is just don't play these guys. It's gonna be like I had to play Foreman the 1 week he scored a few times and it was just like I needed a guy, so I picked him up off waivers and I was just hoping that happened and it did. So like
Me too. Yeah.
I do think Foreman for the rest of the year will be a touchdown threat. Like he's huge, he's bigger than Herbert. They're probably going to give him most of the goal line carries, but with Herbert coming back, I don't think you're going to expect a full workload from Foreman. Moving forward after this year, I mean, I think it's I don't I don't think they really value the running backs a lot in this system. So it's just going to kind of be a revolving door. I feel like they might draft another guy, they might sign another guy for like a minimal deal, which I'm fine with. You know, if they build the line has been blocking very well for these guys. So it's a tough situation to sift through, though.
Yeah, I get it, man. It's funny because like when you talk about Fields, it's like I know where you're coming from. Like, like holds on to the ball too long, blah blah blah. Like I think for us though, like I think we've seen Zach Wilson actually progress into like a better quarterback. Is he still the answer? I'm not. I still don't think so. But we've seen flashes. But it's
Yeah,
it's just more because our offensive line is actually bad. So if we had a good line, then it'd be easier to judge. But when I think on the Raiders game, the Jets actually blocked pretty well, but it's just a whole offensive unit that just needs help. So it's tough, and they got a decision to make too because obviously he was in the same year as Fields, and
yeah. They normally have to pick up the 5th-year option after this season, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be at least like 20 million. I'm pretty sure it's going to be something
It's
like
a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
it's
lot.
especially for a top guy like him. So they got a lot to figure out, man, big time.
I feel like there's no way they could give
I
Zach
don't.
Wilson that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think. I just don't think they could do it.
Not to like poo poo on Zach Wilson or whatever. I like it's just like Fields flashes are so tantalizing and they're so good. Like you see flashes of him being like an MVP level quarterback. And that's what keeps people coming back and believing in him is like his flashes are humongous flashes. Like he is an incredible talent. Can you harness it? Can you play? Like it's weird that Fields does the harder stuff well than like he's so bad at the easy stuff though.
That's
Like
that.
that's it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But like I'm pretty sure, you can look at whatever. If you're into PFF grades, he's one of like the highest ranked quarterbacks with balls over 20. Like he is incredible throwing down the field. It's just like he can't throw over the middle, he can't throw easy slants, he can't throw curls on time. It's frustrating.
The little things like that. Yeah. Like the basic stuff that you should be completing as a quarterback when you have a pocket and you got time and they just don't complete it. But then it's off script and then he's running outside, making massive runs. Like last year, like we saw that a lot, which is
Right.
why he's one of the top 10 ranked quarterbacks in the league. So
But that's also what I'm trying to tell you now is like defenses have adjusted, so they're literally just making him throw by blitzing those edges when he rolls out. So they're not giving him a chance to get out of the pocket and use that athleticism as much. And it's really forcing his hand in an area where he's not progressing. And I think everyone thought, if he did get better at this year, he would be incredible. And it just hasn't happened. So
the final word is Drake May. That's the word is Drake.
that's
May.
my guy. I'm very high on Drake May. He's really impressed me. He's always impressed me, but I don't know, man. He's huge. He reminds me of Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Carson Palmer, those kind of QBs. Like, did you guys watch a UNC game last week?
I watched a couple.
If you go back and watch the highlights from last week specifically, yeah, I know he's playing Duke. Just look at the way he stands in the pocket and took some gigantic hits when just like staying in there and throwing the ball, knowing he was going to get crushed.
Yeah,
I don't know. There is something to me about just being a guy being able to stay in the pocket and make those throws, which is like, again, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, a lot of times we'll see them kind of run around and be a superhero. And it's just like, sometimes you just gotta pull up your pants and let it rip across the middle and take the hit. And that's not even saying like Fields isn't tough. It's just like he's always looking for the humongous play when sometimes you just have to stay in there and get the 5-10 yard gain to keep the sticks moving. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to run around in circles and then throw the ball behind your back and hope your guy jump ball someone and catches it down the field, because it's cool when it happens, but it's like if you do that 5 times and you get sacked the other 5 times or fumble the other 5 times, then it doesn't even matter.
Right.
The name of the game is ball control. And again, that's why Tyson Bagent won 2 games. He made the easy throws. He keeps the sticks running. He keeps the run game going. Like, is he a great talent? No. Does he put them in horrible positions, by taking bad sacks? And sure, he threw some picks, whatever. Does he take bad sacks all the time and fumble all the time? No.
That's the important
Fair.
stuff too. But Muller, you got anything else?
No.
All right. Well, Lucas, again, I'm glad that we gave you the floor because we don't talk Bears often, and based off my little vacay, it was nice to talk to you again, bro, for sure. And then it was nice to get your input, especially with the position you guys are in now, because we're going to be talking about this come February and come March and April. It's going to be probably the story that they're going to talk about.
Well,
for the Bears to do.
Yeah.
So
and I'll bring you the scoops that I know. Remember when I texted you earlier about the Montez Sweat trade happening?
Yep. Yeah,
And it happened like 20 minutes later.
Yep. Montez Sweat. I get last question here, and then we're gonna get out of here. Carlos Mendoza, what's your take?
I wish it was Craig Counsell, but I
I
don't.
told you he didn't want to come to New York, bro.
Huh?
I told you he didn't want to come to New York. I knew it. You could just tell he was looking for other options.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, managers are just so hard to judge, man. It's like I honestly don't know, because a lot of the better managers in the league are first-time managers or were first-time managers. So we'll see. I have more faith in David Stearns running the team than I do Mendoza being a like I just have faith that David Stearns is making the right decisions, is essentially what I'm at. So
Yeah,
I
and Epler actually set him up too. So now it's just on him.
yeah, and it did make me happy to hear that he wants to emphasize pitching this offseason in a really good market. So we'll see what happens. There's Blake Snell out there. There's Aaron Nola. There's
Nola.
so many talents. Obviously, there's Otani, but he's not pitching next year. I hot take. The Mets don't need Otani. They need a lot of other things. And if you're going to spend big bucks, invest it in 3 good players. I don't need just, yes, Otani's amazing. Fill out the roster. Let's get a better pitching staff in here.
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. There you go. Yeah.
Please get him. Please.
I mean, do you hear?
Bring him to the Mets.
Do you agree with that, Mikey? Like, do you think if they just busted their load on Otani, they wouldn't really sign anyone else? I mean, I know they have the money, but they still do have that tax to kind of stay under. So
yeah, no, they wouldn't sign anybody else. Plus his project that they're doing around the stadium, that's going to be $8 billion. Yeah, no shot. No.
How do you feel about that being like an ex-New Yorker? Some people are like feel like they're like gentrifying the stadium area.
No, to be honest, I think it's good for New York in a way, because
I mean the area around Citi Field is really not great.
No, it's
at
not.
all.
I think they're trying to make it an attraction for somewhere other than the city, especially in Flushing, Queens. You know what I mean? It's right off the highway. It's not like it's really in the way of it's not like it's just an MSG right in the middle of the city. Like, it's right off the highway. Like, there's nothing else there besides the freaking transit. Like, that's it. Like, they're making it an attraction. I think it's gonna be great for just New Yorkers, and I think just Mets fans in general. I think it's going to be sick, in my opinion. I think it's good for New York.
I think it'll be cool. I'm happy we have an owner who's willing to spend money to make things better.
Yeah, and so it's a beautiful stadium to begin with, but like adding all this other stuff, I think it's going to be big time. And listen, you know what it's about. He's going to bring in way more money by doing this between a casino and everything else. I think it's smart. I mean, is it fucked up? Maybe, but smart. So
still lose to the Yankees, so it's all right.
Oh, don't tell me you're a Yankees fan
He's a Yanks fan.
and a Cowboys fan.
Over there. What's that?
He's a Yankees and a Cowboys fan.
I'm the perfect fan.
Do you also like the Lakers?
No,
Yeah, you like the Sixers. By
Yeah.
the way, the Sixers are rolling. I don't know how they're doing tonight, but
I'm
they're
going
looking good.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're doing tonight, but I'm going tomorrow to the Celtics game. I'm telling you right now,
Celtics minus
Celtics
whatever.
are winning that because we beat them last week. So there's no shot that they win this week. But
And it's a back-to-back. And we know Embiid's fat ass ain't going to be ready for that.
take Embiid under, Maxey over.
Celtics by a million.
By the way, only in Philly does one of the players you bring and get hit by a car.
Like what is with that? Literally 2 weeks.
Wild, dude.
He has 5 points, 5 points. And then he starts dropping buckets. All right, Philly. Everyone in Philly's like, we got to find this guy because this is way too good for us. Let's run him over with our SUV. I can't believe this.
ATV.
Do it to a Flyers player.
ATV.
Do it,
SUV, actually. No, but
do it to a Flyers player. We have no shot with the Flyers. Sixers, they actually have a chance to do something. So let's hit them with the car.
It's kind of crazy too, because going into this year, like after they traded Harden, my expectations were like really low. I was like, this team is going to be like mediocre at best, and they've just been awesome under Nick Nurse. I love it. It's incredible how much of a difference coaching makes, which I didn't really buy into before, but now I see it.
Doc Rivers, he's only been a super team coach. He's never had to actually coach young players like Maxey. The moment he had to do it, he was just like, all right, go play some pickup. Hey, yeah, I don't think Doc Rivers ever actually coached. And then you bring in James Harden, who doesn't want to listen to a coach. So even if he wanted to, there was no listening to a coach. James Harden has this big thing in his head that he's some like great player. He's the system. I don't know. He hasn't won a game this season still.
I'm a big Harden stan, but yeah, that it didn't turn out too well. You know, I can't even lie about that. It was just not great. Not a great ending, but typical Harden, so I'm not shocked.
Yeah, he better turn this thing around in LA or else it's going to be even harder.
Did they ever even say like how long Oubre, like, all right, so I don't know.
He's out for at least 2 months.
Okay, is that what you saw? Because they keep saying significant amount of time, but then I saw he broke his ribs, and not that broken ribs isn't a big deal, but I've seen guys in the NFL come back from broken ribs in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere. But yeah, broken ribs, like, dude, get back on the court. I don't need to watch Furkan every night. Get back on the court. Like, you can do you can just go stand. We'll play down a guy on defense. Go stand in the corner and shoot the ball. It's better than
man.
Yeah, I love Furkan. He's Furkan awesome.
They said 2 months though. 2 months.
Yeah.
All I kept seeing a significant amount of time, and I didn't know what that meant.
But I feel like in the NBA, significant amount of time is like the NHL is saying a lower body injury. You know, it could be anything.
Well, I thought they were being dramatic when I was like, oh, he broke his ribs. Like, he'll be back in like a month and a half.
Yeah. Someone has film of this occurring. There has to be film of this guy getting hit by the car.
When all this news broke, I was like, oh my God, like his legs are broken, like his arm's broken. And it's just like, he got some cuts and broken ribs. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like get back on the court. Come on.
I'm not trying to diminish it, but I really thought the dude was going to be like snapped in half or something.
That's what I thought.
The way they made it sound, I was like, is he making funeral arrangements? Like, what's going on here?
This man was gone. I thought he was gone. Wasted money. No. But no, he should be back in 2 months, hopefully. Yeah.
Just in time.
With that being said, Lukas, again, thanks for coming on. I'm glad you wanted to come on. Thanks for sticking in there last minute, because I know it's like we were texting earlier. So again, you're always welcome to come on.
Yeah.
We love talking players, and obviously with your scouting, it's great stuff. So thanks, man.
Let's recoup in draft season. We'll hit all the prospects and go through it all together after the season.
And let me know about this damn tailgate, because I'm going back.
It happens. It's not happening this year because I already went to the game and the Bears suck, and I just don't have it in me this year. But next year it will happen.
I'm in, bro.
Yeah,
I'm in. Big
Both
time.
of you, be there.
Yeah, Mike,
Gassy too.
All three of you. Yeah, come out.
I'll buy the Italian beef and we'll cook it up, baby.
Yeah, we'll get an Airbnb and we'll have a blast.
all right.
Damn right.
The Cubs game.
Damn right.
Also, you have to. By the way, sorry. At the Cubs game, you got to sit in the bleachers. You got to make the cup snake.
Yeah.
It's a freaking iconic experience. There's nothing like it.
I probably will go back in the summer because I know me and my pops have been dying to go to a Cubs game, and we were supposed to when COVID happened, but everything was canceled. So
Yeah, we'll
that's
make that
definitely
happen.
the goal, big time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Lucas,
Yeah, thank
anytime,
you.
brother, anytime. Bye,
All
boy.
right. You guys have a great night. I'll see you.
All right, my
All right,
boy.
see ya.
We'll catch you.
All right.